Hey guys, Joe here with Local Pro Helper, and in this I'm going to show you how to fix your business with just 5 numbers. Now, a lot of people think that it's very hard to run a business, and there is a lot involved, but when you break everything down, you can pretty much fix your business with just these 5 numbers. Now, this is not taking the place of the CPA or QuickBooks or anything like this, but it's basically to get you on track so that way you can become profitable and not work so damn hard all the time, okay? And what I'm going to show you at the end is a few bonus tips that's going to show you how to drastically cut your hours while increasing the money that you're actually putting in your pocket. Okay. So, we all started a business because, we wanted a better life for ourselves or our family, or you were working for someone else and you just thought you could do it better. And instead of, making them all the money, you wanted to make the money yourselves. But, as I put in this quote, we started a business so we can provide a better future for ourselves and our family. But most of us are forgetting that the time aspect is just as important, if not more important, than the money aspect. And what I mean by that is, before I started my fence company, and even for the first few years of that fence company, when I was doing everything the wrong way, is I was working all the time. I was working 80 hours a week. I was working at least 6 days a week, typically 7, or it would have been like 6.5, maybe work a short day on Sunday, but still was putting in 80 hours, which I'm sure most of you can relate to. And what I found and realized, and it's really sad, is that for the first 5 years of his life, he really didn't know who I was because I was never home. And if I was home, what would end up happening is I was just so tired, exhausted, or, pissed off or frustrated that I just wasn't mentally there. Now, fortunately, my father-in-law was around all the time, like literally all the time, because he had cancer, and he knew he was going to, pass away, which he did a few years ago. But fortunately, he was around. But, at least according to my son, for everything else involved, my father-in-law was his dad. And, it's really sad. And unfortunately, it happened. But now I'm making, the changes, or I made the changes so I can actually be around. But basically, I want to be able to help other people not to go through that again. Because at the end of the day, if you have a son or, a daughter, and you can't even be around for them, especially in those critical first few years, it's really a shame. So I hope you don't have to go through that. So here's what you're going to need to know in order to fix your business. Okay. So the first one is your weekly profit number. And we're going to go through all this, but I'm just going to break it down real quick. The second thing is your average gross profit per job. 3 is the number of average leads that are coming in. 4th is your closing percent. So, if you have 10 calls come in and you have 1 job from it, that's 10% closing. And the 5th one is the hours that you need to work per week. Okay. And the 6th thing we're going to do is put everything together so it all makes sense, and so you can actually start making changes to your business. And then the final thing is I have some bonus tips at the end, and I have also some specials as well. That's going to help you on your way. There's some special videos for you, and then basically just some tips that will, fix your issues pretty much. So the first thing is the weekly profit number. So how do you figure it out? Well, what you have to first do is figure out your business expenses for the year. Now, for this, you want to include everything. So, what does it cost for your vehicle payments, your insurance, your business insurance, if you have a warehouse, what does that cost you? Now, all that kind of stuff. Now, you are not going to include the labor that is used to provide the actual service. So in my case, I own a fence company, and so I would not include the labor to put in the fences because that's going to be part of your gross profit number, okay? But if you have any like secretaries, people answering the phone, people to run out and do estimates, that kind of thing, they will get included, okay? The next thing we need to look at is your personal expenses for the year. Now, this is important because, most people aren't planning this out. So if you're not planning it out, you're not really controlling your destiny. You're kind of letting your destiny just kind of happen to you. So this is where it's important to, and also for going back for the business expenses, you want to make sure there's a profit number in there as well. So obviously you don't want to just run your business to break even, whatever the profit is, $500 a month, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever that number is. Okay. And then for the personal expenses, same thing. So whatever you need to do to, pay your mortgage, pay your electric, your water bill, all that kind of stuff. If your kids are in college or they're going to be in college, you have to start accounting for that. Retirement fund, vacation fund, investment fund, like all that kind of stuff. You have to figure out that number. Now, the one thing you do want to remember is that for your personal expenses, whatever that number comes out to be, you want to typically add about 20% so you can cover taxes. Okay. After you do that, you're going to add these 2 numbers together, okay, and divide by 52. Now in this example, just to make it as easy as possible, is we're doing the business of 400,000, the personal is 100,000, and then we're adding 20% for taxes. So it's a total of 520, and divide that by 52, and you have 10,000 per week. Okay, simple enough. Next thing is the average gross profit per job. How do you figure it out? So the gross profit is the total price minus materials and labor. Okay, so in this example, 5,500 is the total price minus 1,000 for labor minus 2,500 for materials is a total of $2,000 for your gross profit. Okay. The other thing we want to look at is the gross profit percentage. So for your gross profit percentage, you're just doing your gross profit. So this would be the 2,000 and divided by total price divided by 5,500, as you see here, and you have 36%. Okay. Now, why is this important? I'm sorry, this thing came up. So we need to know how many jobs on average that you're going to need to book or complete each week. To do it simply, you know, if in the first example, you needed $10,000 per week. Now, for this, we need to make, we're averaging about $2,000 per job. So that means you need about 5 jobs per week to break even. Okay. Third thing is the average number of leads that you need per week. Okay. And how do you figure it out? Well, the easiest way is to start tracking every phone call and email. So you don't have to do it forever if you don't want to, but the more information you have, the better your information or calculations is going to be. Okay. All right. So next, what we have to do is figure out the average number of leads that are coming in per week. Okay. So how do you figure it out? Well, pretty simple. The easiest way is just to start tracking every phone call and email. Now you don't have to do this forever, but the longer, the better. Okay. Because the more information coming in, the better the calculations are coming out. Okay. So we have that. The next thing is we have to calculate the closing percentage. Okay, how do you figure this out? It's just the total number of jobs divided by the number of leads coming in. So in this example, if there is 1 job and you had 10 leads, then the number is 10%. Simple enough. Okay. Now, why is this important? We have to know if we have enough leads coming in for the amount of work we want to do. So in this example, you know, if you need 10 leads to book a job and you need 5 jobs, that means you need about 50 leads coming in every single week. Now at this point, you look at it and say, well, if I have enough leads, great. If I have more than 50, great. But if I don't have more than 50 or at least 50, then that's going to be a problem. Like then you need more leads, right? Simple. Okay. The next thing is we have to calculate the hours needed per week. Okay. How do you do this? Well, you have to track all your hours. Now this, as we put in here, it's not just the time that you put in to actually complete the job. So if you're the one still doing, you know, I'll do fencing. So if I'm still installing the actual fence, it's not just installing the fence that matters, even though I'm there for 10 hours a day or whatever. You have to factor in how much time you're spending for the phone calls, the emails, the on-site estimates, ordering materials, picking up and delivering the materials, like the whole shebang. Like how long does it take you? Typically, it's probably going to add a few more hours to your list, or you know, for each job if it's if you're still doing everything yourself. Okay. Now, why is this important? Because again, the price, or I'm sorry, the profit that you're bringing in is only one thing. It's really important for the number of hours you're working as well. Because it doesn't matter if you're making all this money and you guys can afford this big ass house and everything else, but your wife is basically a stay-at-home mom, but she's also a single mom because she's the one taking care of everything. Like that doesn't really work either. Okay. And if we have in here, like if on average you're spending 17 hours per job and you need 5 jobs, that's 85 hours a week. How does that work out? Yeah, can you do it? Yeah. Did I do it in the beginning? Yeah, 100%. And everyone else is going to have to as well. But the whole goal is to be able to put systems in place and everything else so that way you don't have to work so damn hard all the time. Okay. And then also, I bet you won't even include everything because a lot of times you're still going to have other stuff that you have to do behind the scenes, whether it's paperwork or whatever it may be. So be careful of that. All right, so now we're going to put it all together. Now, I know we went by and did all that stuff pretty quickly, but it's literally that simple because at the end of the day, all this is just basically one big math problem or equation. And what we're going to do is figure out where the disconnect is and then basically fix that, and then that fixes your business. Like it's that simple. Okay, so first thing is we have to pinpoint the issues, and most contractors are going to have one or more of the following issues. Okay, so it's either working too many hours, you don't have enough leads coming in, or you're not making enough per job. Like that's typically what's going to end up happening. Could there be other things such as employee issues and stuff like that? Absolutely. But if you don't fix these issues first, the rest of them are just going to be a complete nightmare. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is working too many hours. Okay, so how are you going to work less hours? Now, again, this is going to seem very simple, but I'm telling you, it becomes as simple because at the end of the day, it's just a math problem. We just fix a problem, fix an issue here, and it'll fix the issue there. Okay. So the first issue that is you need to increase your gross profit. Now, like I put in here, if you're currently doing the work yourself, you should be hitting 50% gross profit. So that would mean like if you're charging, $5,000, your profit should be $2,500. Now for me, I'm not going to be that high for a few reasons. One is because I don't do any of the work myself anymore. Two, I use subs that are more expensive than employees. And three, I pay more for my subs than any other company in the area because I want the best of the best, because I want them to come work for me before they work for someone else. And I'm okay with making less because I have enough leads and everything else coming in so that way I can book enough jobs and life is good. Okay. Now, if you looked at the previous, the first example where we put that, the gross profit average was 2,000 and then we needed to hit 10,000. So we need 5 jobs. Well, if you would just raise your price by just $500, so from going from $5,500 to $6,000, well, what'll happen is now that gross profit is $2,500 and now you only need 4 jobs. So just there alone, if we kept everything the same and you were working 17 hours per job, well, you just cut 17 hours off your schedule just because you raised your price $500. Okay. Now, if you don't have enough leads coming in, we're going to go over that, but obviously you're not going to be able to raise your price as much or book enough jobs if you don't have enough leads coming in. The second thing you can do is stop offering so many services, because what ends up happening, and this is even for a fence company, and we actually just went through this today. So, as a fence company, we do vinyl, we do aluminum, we do cedar, we do pressure treated, we chain link, whatever it is. So, right there, that's like 5 different services. And what we realized is that there were certain services. A good example was Buff Tech. So it's a higher end item, and so it's what'll happen is we can get a bigger percentage out of that. And not only that, but if regular vinyl job is 10,000, well, this is going to be 20,000, and so we're making much more in profit. But when we started breaking everything down, I was actually making less per hour, because what would happen is, one, it was taking my crews longer because we're not used to doing that. And number 2, there was so much time that my office spent on the phone with dealing with the customer service there because the materials weren't coming in and there was issues and the communication on their end wasn't good at all. So, if it normally took us only 2 hours total to basically book a job and order the materials and everything else, we would make $2,000. So just say about $1,000 per hour that my office was making me. Well, with this, we might have been making, $5,000, but we were on the phone for like 10 hours. So we were making like $500 an hour for my office team. So it was like half as much money. So what did we do? Well, we got rid of it. Okay. And then what you'll end up seeing is you're just going to become more efficient. It could also mean that if you're only doing like 1 or 2 services, well, maybe you can start buying in bulk for those specific services. And then what'll end up happening is you're going to end up making more money on the materials. So you didn't have to work any harder. It's just you're buying smarter, you're buying in bulk. So you can end up making more. Also, what you'll end up seeing is that you won't have to be involved as much. So with these custom jobs or so many services, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to be more involved because your team is not as efficient and they're not as, competent as they would be if, with the other services. Okay. The third thing that you can do is hire more employees or subs. So just doing this alone. So if you're currently doing a job share on your own and you want to work less hours, well, you just need to hire employees. Well, at this point, you're thinking, well, yeah, if I hire employees or subs, then I need to book more jobs. Yeah, that's 100% true, but it's often way less jobs than you think you actually need. In fact, a lot of times if you need 5 jobs a week on average, you might have to book an extra half a job a week. An extra 25 jobs a year, which is nothing if you're already doing like 200 jobs. And the way I'll be able to show you this is actually through a program called the Profit Planner, which you will see at the end. Okay. The next thing is you don't have enough leads coming in. So again, going back to that example, if you're closing 1 out of 10, and so you need 10 leads for every job, and you need 5 jobs, that's 50 leads. Well, if you don't have enough leads coming in, well, that's a problem for a few reasons. 1, you're not going to book enough jobs. And 2, you're not going to be able to raise your pricing if you don't have enough leads coming in. The perfect example is if you're more on a seasonal business, think of your pricing during peak season compared to the winter time. And I guarantee your peak season pricing is a hell of a lot higher than your winter pricing. And the reason you do that is because in the peak, there's more than enough jobs coming in, but in the wintertime, you don't have enough coming in. So the cure for all this is just have enough leads coming in. Like, that's all it is. Okay? Simple. How do we do it? First thing is, if you're not doing any advertising at all, start advertising on Craigslist. Now, this is what I used to do in the very beginning. I still do it occasionally if I remember, but honestly, we're so busy, it just doesn't matter. And for here, it only costs you about 15 to 20 bucks a month. And that's it. Like, it's dirt cheap. Will you get a ton of leads from it? Not a lot, but you're going to get a few. And again, it's only 15 to 20 bucks a month. Now, a lot of people think it's for the cheapest people possible, which, yeah, but the cheap people are everywhere anyway. But I will say that we've booked some pretty nice jobs, and actually probably like 3 years ago, at this point in the wintertime, it actually saved my ass, because in the middle of winter, and I'm like, I don't have enough work for my guys. And like within 2 weeks, we booked 2 jobs. One was like 350 feet. One was like close to 500 feet that we booked, and it was from Craigslist. Okay. The next thing is you have to optimize your business, or the Google My Business listing. Now, what is that? That is when you search for a fence company on whatever your service is on Google, there's that map section with the reviews and stuff. That's the Google My Business listing. Now, for my fence company alone, we've received 4,000 phone calls in 2020 alone. And every day it continues to dominate everything. Even with the amount of money I spend on Google ads, everything else. And because I'm able to track everything, because we use call tracking for everything. So I have different phone numbers for Google My Business, or the Google Organic, or Google Ads, or Facebook, or Craigslist, or you name it. Wherever there's a different way of people finding me, there's a different phone number. And on average, at least 50% of my calls are coming from Google My Business, from what I've done. Now, good news is at the end of this video, in the bonus section, there's actually a video. There's a link for it, and you'll see exactly how to do it. I literally walk you step by step how to do this thing. Now, there's 2 options. So it's not completely free. Like the video I show you is completely free. But basically, it is going to cost you a few $100, but that's for the entire year. I spend $500 a year for this listing. That's it. But I go over that in the video. The next thing you do is Facebook local groups. So this would be like different town pages that you can look in, because there's constantly people looking for fence companies or whatever your service is. People are looking for it, actively looking for it. So all you have to do is look for it and, basically say, hey, I'm here. Like, if you want to quote, blah, 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 or just start posting helpful posts. So it could be like, again, as a fence company, like the 5 things you need to know before you install a fence, or the 3 things that need to be done before you can install a fence, or not knowing this one thing could turn your fence project into a complete nightmare. Whatever it may be, that's what you're going to end up doing. The final thing that you can do are Google Ads. So this is the second best option by far. This is what I use all the time. I spend several $1,000s a month to do it. And what you'll see is like this Google My Business listing. This is more of like a long-term play. Once it's like the SEO. So if you're not familiar with that, is basically, it's kind of like investing. So you'll put time and effort into it, and then eventually it'll start paying you back. Google My Business is no different, though it's a little bit quicker. But Google Ads, that's like immediate. That's kind of like a faucet. You turn it on, or light switch, you turn it on, the leads start coming in. All right, next is you're not making enough per job. Okay, so how do you increase the profit? Okay, simplest way is just raise your prices. Okay, the thing you have to remember is, if you're not charging a lot, like if you're on the lower end of the spectrum, and I was there literally just 2 years ago, and to give some more back information of my company. So again, I own a fence company. It's only been in business at this point since June of 2015. So it's only about 5.5 years at the time of this recording. And 2 years ago, I was one of the lower end. So if someone got 5 quotes, I was either the 4th or the 5th lowest price. Okay. Now fast forward to today, we're usually the first one, if not the second one. And the only time we're second is usually if our pricing screwed up somehow, or whatever it may be. So we've completely flipped it. And the reason why I've been able to change it is, and I'm going to show you in a second, but the one thing you have to remember is there's plenty of cheap people, obviously, but there's plenty of people that are willing to pay more, and they actually want to pay more because they associate higher pricing with better service and better products. Now, typically, as I know for a fence company, and if you're in that industry as well, now pretty much all of us sell the same shit. Like, it's all the same. It's just the way you market it. So we could be really putting out there about the lifetime warranty and, you know, stuff like that. Or if you have a longer labor warranty than the other companies, you can mention stuff like that. But it's also like people appreciate you just answering the phone. So that's where hiring employees comes into play. Okay. The second thing you can do is eliminate services. Again, what'll end up happening if you offer more than one service, and for people that say they don't, again, even as a fence company, I consider, you know, vinyl, aluminum, cedar, pressure treated, whatever, they're all different services in my mind. So what you can do is actually look at the all your different services and just like take an average for like figure out the last 10 jobs you did for each of them. And what you're going to see is that your average profit, if you offer 3 services, I guarantee one is leading it by far, and then the other 2 are coming up behind, or it might be like a very, you know, one, a very distant 2, and a very distant 3. Well, what you start doing is start eliminating the lowest profit jobs. Now, I'm not saying completely get rid of it, but what you can do is, you know, if you have 3 and you're doing like 33% of each, well, do the top one, try to get like 50% and try to get 30% for the second one and 20% for the lowest one. And what'll end up happening is you'll end up making more money. And because you end up making more money per job, then you need to do less jobs per week. And because you do less jobs per week, now you're working less hours. Like it just fixes itself. It's pretty simple. The last thing that you have to do or can do is you can increase the number of leads. Again, going back to that winter scenario where, you know, during the spring and summertime, you know, I used to charge much more money, just say, you know, I don't know, for an average job, just say it was $6,000 in the spring and summer, but that same job would have been like $5,500, $5,000, or like, you know, let's make a deal kind of deal. And, but now because we have enough leads coming in all the time, our pricing stays the same. Okay. If anything, what happens is my spring and summer pricing becomes my winter pricing. And then the following year, whatever my winter pricing is, I started adding to that. And, you know, we just keep on increasing our prices. Okay. So those are the 3 things you can do for that. Okay. Now for the bonus section. Okay. So the bonuses. The first one is the Google My Business optimization video. Again, this is how my company received 4,000 phone calls in 2020. Now, again, this isn't a service I provide. I was looking into it before, but honestly, it's very easy to do. Anyone can do it, anyone. And a lot of times you just hire them on Fiverr or Upwork if you don't feel like doing it yourself, and they're going to be super cheap. Okay. And again, there's basically 2 options. One is the Fiverr or Upwork, and then that might cost you about $200 for the, you know, for the year. And then the other version is, which is in the video, it cost me $500 a year. I don't have any affiliation with them, but whatever they did, it works by far. Like that's, again, 4,000 phone calls. Even if every single person called twice, that's still 2,000 phone calls that I received in a year. You know, it's crazy what happens. Okay. That's like 40 a week just from Google My Business. Now, if you could use 40 leads per week for $500 for a year, watch this video. Okay. The other thing that's going to be shown is the Profit Planner program. Okay. This thing will track everything for you and figure out everything for you as well. It's going to track your gross profit per job. It's going to track your gross percentage. It's also, you can put in there the average, the number of minutes per job that you spend for answering the phone calls, the emails, going out to estimates, sending the quotes, doing the order, picking up the materials. Like it tracks everything. And then what it will do is it'll actually, there's a thing called the Future Planner in it. And what it'll show you is it takes all your averages, and then you could start planning and making adjustments to your business without really doing anything. And it'll show you what's going to happen. So like if you started charging more, it's going to show you how many less jobs you need. The big one for people that are working in every, you know, if you don't have any employees and you're doing everything, or you're wearing 7 hats every day, well, it'll show you if you start delegating some time or, you know, that time to the employees, whether it's like answering the phone calls or emails, like you can pick what you want to delegate and what you don't want to delegate. And what it'll show you, people that just delegate the whole installation, that's the big one. You delegate that, you're going to go from 80 hours a week down to 50 or even 40, like that. Like not even kidding you. And along with that, it'll show you how many less hours you're working, but it's also going to show you how many more jobs you have to book. And I guarantee you it's way less than what you think. Like it's crazy. Okay. Now, to get both of them, you're going to go to funnels.localprohelper.com/fix, and both of them are going to be in there as well. You'll also look at the description below. There's a link in there. Just click it. It'll go to it. And again, you'll see this video. And the Profit Planner it's dirt cheap. It's literally $7 a month, and for the free for the first 7 days, so you can see what it is. But it's so simple to use. We started using it for my business. It's actually what we were using before, but I kind of was using like Excel spreadsheets, a pen and paper, and I kind of just realized that how much more helpful it would be if I get it into an actual program. So now we actually use it, and then it's available for you as well. So that's all I got for today. Again, the business, yeah, there's a lot of aspects. Again, this is not taking the place of an accountant, a CPA. It's not taking the place of QuickBooks, anything like that. But basically, if your business or your ship is going off astray somewhere else, well, you just do these things and it'll put you on the right course. And again, with the Profit Planner program, again, it's only $7 a month. I'm really not trying to make anything off of it. It's literally to pay for the maintenance of it. And so that way you can fix your business, okay? Because you have enough things to do. You don't want to do all the calculations. This does the calculations for you. So again, I hope you enjoy your day. Go to the link below and then fix your business, okay? Thanks.